Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're going on a seriously mind-bending journey into the reality of something you interact with literally every single day. I love breaking down complex systems, and this topic, it's an absolute favorite of mine, mostly because it challenges the very fabric of how we view the world. We're going to explore the evolution of money, and I promise you, by the end of this, you will never look at your wallet the exact same way again.
So I want you to think about a remarkably simple question. What is in your pocket right now? Or, what's sitting in your bank account? You probably have some physical paper bills, maybe a few metal coins clinking around. Or, let's be real, mostly just a digital number staring back at you on a banking app. We treat all these things as if they have this undeniable inherent physical reality. We stress over them, we work tirelessly for them, and we trade our extremely valuable time for them. But what if I told you that their physical reality is almost entirely an illusion?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the core thesis. Money is the world's most successful shared fiction. It is, hands down, the most powerful idea human beings have ever invented. The story of how we got here, going from bartering goats in early settlements, all the way to transferring digital currency across the globe in milliseconds, well, that's quite literally the story of human civilization itself. We invented this concept completely out of thin air, and we did it just to solve a massive, everyday logistical problem that was holding humanity back. You see, before money, we had barter. But barter has a huge problem. It requires what economists call a double coincidence of wants. This is a really strict situation requiring that I have exactly what you want and you have exactly what I want at the exact same time. Imagine trying to trade a pair of shoes you made for a loaf of bread to feed your family. You find a baker, but the baker doesn't want shoes. He already has shoes. He wants a new hammer. Unless you can go find a blacksmith who happens to need shoes and has a hammer to trade with you, the whole thing just completely breaks down. The economic friction of living and trading this way is absolutely enormous. It makes everyday survival a really complex puzzle.
To get around this incredible friction, early humans started agreeing on common mediums of exchange, just things that everyone in the village or region agreed had value, so they could be used as an intermediary step. And early forms of money took some truly extraordinary shapes. People used beautiful cowrie shells, incredibly sharp obsidian blades, heads of cattle, and heavy blocks of salt. But here's the critical takeaway. The physical object itself didn't matter nearly as much as the agreement between the traders. The shell or the blade only had value because the entire community universally agreed to accept it in exchange for goods and services. The agreement itself was the real currency.
Now, what's really interesting about this is just how pervasive this idea was. Have you ever wondered where the word salary actually comes from? It derives directly from the Latin word salarium, which literally translated to payment in salt. Salt was so incredibly valuable and so universally accepted for its vital ability to preserve food in the ancient world that Roman soldiers were often paid their wages in it. The salt was literal money. So earning your salary meant literally earning your salt.
Over thousands of years, humanity basically kept upgrading this technology to reduce that economic friction even further. If we trace the evolution of our story, we started in prehistory with barter, moved to the first metal coins around 600 BCE, made a massive philosophical leap to paper money in the 7th century CE, and finally arrived at the modern era of digital money. I actually like to think of this timeline as the evolution of trust. Because with every single technological upgrade along the way, we required less trust in the physical object you could hold in your hand and a lot more trust in the broader system itself.
Let's zoom in on that first major upgrade. Around 600 BCE in Lydia, which is a kingdom located in modern-day Turkey, we saw the invention of the metal coin. Before this, merchants were just trading random lumps of metal, which was total chaos. Every single transaction meant pulling out a scale, weighing the raw metal, biting it, and arguing over its purity. It was tedious. So a lump of metal wasn't actually much better than a block of salt until you introduce one very specific innovation: the stamp. The issuers, usually the king or a local authority, stamped these uniform coins with a highly specific mark to officially guarantee their weight and their purity to anyone who held them.
That stamp, it was the ultimate game changer. It meant you no longer had to weigh, test, or bite the metal yourself for every single transaction. You trusted the coin not because you tested it, but because you trusted whoever issued the stamp. And this brings us to the absolute foundational principle of all money. Money is a trust technology. This super simple concept of trusting the issuer finally allowed humanity to securely store value, to save over long periods without the money rotting or dying like cattle, and to plan economically for the future at a massive scale. It transformed human society more profoundly than almost any other invention in history. Let's move forward and see how this builds. Fast forward to the Tang Dynasty in China, right around the 7th century CE. This is where we see the magnificent invention of the first paper money. Now, it's really important to note that initially, this wasn't what we think of as money today. It started out simply as an IOU, basically a receipt for precious metal that had been safely deposited with trusted warehouses. It was just vastly easier and safer for traveling merchants to carry around a lightweight piece of paper in their robes than to haul heavy sacks of bronze or gold across a huge empire. You could just trade the paper, and whoever held it could go claim the metal.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive philosophical leap humanity was taking. Just think about the stark comparison here. A metal coin actually contains something. It has intrinsic physical value because of the gold, silver, or bronze melted inside of it. You could melt down a gold coin and still have valuable gold. But paper? Paper contains absolutely nothing. It merely represents value. It's worth what it says it's worth, and it's worth that amount solely because everyone in the society agrees that it does. We transition from trading valuable stuff to trading the pure idea of value. Which brings us to a really mind-bending pivot in our modern era. Today, no major currency anywhere in the world is backed by gold. The final link to physical value has been completely severed. Your dollars, euros, yen, or pounds are purely fiat currency. That means they are declared legal tender by the government, but they are backed by absolutely nothing physical. There is no gold in a vault waiting for you to claim it. When that historic link to physical gold was officially cut, money became purely 100% a matter of collective trust in the issuing government and the stability of the economy. And that leads us straight to the reality of the money you possess right now, 90%. Just hold that number in your head for a second. We've talked about heavy salt, stamped coins, and paper receipts that you can physically touch. But what happens when we abstract value even further? What happens when money essentially ceases to be physical at all? Have you ever thought about how much of the wealth we interact with today is entirely invisible? Here is the incredible reality. In most developed economies today, only about 10% of the total money supply exists as physical notes and coins. The rest of it, that massive 90%, exists purely as digital numbers. It's just data sitting on computer servers, zipping through fiber optic cables. The vast majority of the wealth in the world, the money buying houses, funding corporations, and paying for your groceries, doesn't actually exist in any tangible physical form. It is entirely digital.
So the crucial point is, where do all those digital numbers actually come from? If the government mints the 10% of physical cash, who's making the digital 90%? Here's the ultimate twist that surprises almost everyone learning about modern finance. Most of our digital money is created not by governments, but by everyday commercial banks when they make loans. When a bank approves you for a mortgage to buy a house, they don't walk into a vault and carry out bags of existing cash to give to the seller. They just type some numbers into a computer system. New digital money is literally created into existence the exact moment that loan document is signed and executed. Pretty wild, right?
Now, looking to the horizon, this entire architecture is actively being challenged and redefined yet again. We're currently seeing the rise of private cryptocurrencies, which attempt to build this essential trust through decentralized computer networks and complex mathematics, rather than relying on central banks. At the exact same time, governments aren't just standing still. They're actively exploring central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, effectively modernizing state money for the blockchain era. These new digital forms are challenging our existing monetary architecture in absolutely fascinating ways. And honestly, the long-term implications for how we interact with wealth aren't fully clear to any of us yet.
But, while the technology is shifting at lightning speed, I want to draw your attention back to the core lesson of this entire explainer. Whether we're talking about calorie cells on a beach, stamped gold coins in ancient markets, fragile pieces of paper in a merchant's packet, or lines of cryptographic code on a hard drive, the underlying principle never changes. Money is organized, formalized, collectively maintained trust. The physical or digital form continually evolves to reduce friction, but that core cooperative technology, it remains exactly the same.
I want to start wrapping things up with this quote. Money is a technology of cooperation. It's kind of a mic drop realization, honestly. It is the exact mechanism that allows strangers who have never even met each other to trust one another enough to trade safely. It allows massive, immensely complex human societies to function smoothly across vast distances. No other animal on Earth has anything remotely like it, and we literally invented it from nothing, from a pure idea. The paper in your pocket or the number on your screen is valuable solely because billions of strangers share a simultaneous belief.
So I'm going to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. The next time you grab your morning coffee, or the next time you tap your card against a payment machine, ask yourself, what are you really trading? You aren't trading a physical object anymore. You are participating in the oldest, most brilliant, and most successful shared fiction in human history. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible topic. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll see you in the next explainer.